All right, we are back again with another edition. A little hiatus. Not a whole lot to talk about, though, toward the end of spring. Really, the biggest news coming out of spring, I think, is Amarius Williams. Don't know how long he's going to miss. Obviously, Kirby's not going to give you a timetable on that. He's got a knee thing um, with an ACL tear. He could absolutely come back by the end of the season. But we'll see. I have no idea yet, but again, that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
I will say. So,
Yeah.
outside of that, uh, you know, came out relatively healthy. Also, I don't think a whole lot of people have talked about it because offensive linemen don't get any love. To me, the biggest story was Bobo. He was running pretty well in the lower end zone. What would that be? The east end zone.
Yeah.
Um,
I think so.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, by the graveyard. So he was running pretty well. And there's been a speculation that he might not be ready by the first two games of the season. Uh, I think if you're running this early, I think you'll probably be ready by the first game of the year. And I think the word is that he's pretty much ready to go. So, all right. I've rewatched the spring game. We were both there in person. Why don't you go ahead and start off with your thoughts, and we'll go from there.
Um. Yeah. First of all, I could not. I couldn't rewatch it. So you've got a leg up on me from that. But in terms of just general takeaways, first of all, for those fans, it's come a long way since 93K Day. I don't know, maybe 15 to, I'm not a good judge, but maybe 15 to 25,000.
I thought this was closer to 30.
It could have been. It could have been. But when you're accustomed to seeing the stadium full, it was a little different. But still, it was a great day. People who have never been to a spring game, as long as Georgia holds them, which is becoming more the exception than the rule these days. I was listening to Pete Golden from Ole Miss. They didn't have. They really. I don't think they had a spring game. So a lot of schools are moving away from it. But clearly, defense is ahead of the offense. Number one. Number two, Georgia. My takeaway is Georgia better be able to run the ball effectively because the wide receiver room. I know you have a different take after watching it, but we saw a lot of Dandridge, Prothrow,
Who's
and
the
saw
tight
some.
end, by the way?
Yeah, tight end. I know, but he's consult all of our other tight ends. He looks like a wide receiver because I think
Yeah,
he's smaller, even though he's probably not a small guy. But
6'6", 230.
is he really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, when you got Rydell and Williams and all the other guys out there, he looks small. You didn't. I don't think we saw any Lawson Lucky yesterday,
No.
um, Saturday. So, big picture wise, I think our wide receiver room still has a lot of question marks. Like, there may be some depth there. I don't think there's like a guy, or like Ohio State has, or some of these other schools. I just don't think you're going to have that. So it's going to be more of a burden on the offensive line and on the running game and the running backs. I did, the kid that we got from Kentucky, Dowdle, I think, is that his name?
No, no.
He had more of a breakaway explosive than I thought that he would. I thought he'd be more of a third down back, and he may be ultimately, but he's got some explosiveness to him. He broke a pretty big run. So those are my general takeaways. We can talk about specific players if you want, but I don't know after rewatching it if you have a different take than that.
All right. So we were in the car leaving Athens, sitting in traffic on 85, and I said, I don't know really what to take away from this game. Like, there's not a whole lot of takeaways that I had with it outside of Georgia's deep on the defensive side of the ball. They're very deep. And then they're also deep on the lines of scrimmage and that tight end. Outside of that, and running back, that was the only takeaway. The initial takeaway that I had, that was the only, I guess, positive. And then the negative would be very sloppy. Um, But and then another negative was, I think I said it to you, we have no wide receiver depth. But what I meant by that is there's there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of unproven guys. You know, last year's spring game, we saw Zach Branch. I mean, we could tell instantly right then and there that he was going to be a ball player because he could just zig and zag. Um, you knew what you
That's what
had
he
in
was doing
Dylan.
in downtown Athens, evidently, on Saturday after this
Yeah,
year's.
we'll talk about that too. So stupid. Um, but you know, you had Dylan Bell. You knew that he was going to have a bounce back year. Um, you had Colby Young. We knew what we were getting with him. And honestly, I thought he played better last season than he did the year before. So, and then we didn't know really what we had in Noah Thomas. Still don't really know what we have in Noah Thomas. But, you know, you at least knew you had guys. This year, we don't know. I mean, Talon Taylor, um, you know, he's a 5-star. He's supposed to be good. So we'll see. Isaiah Canyon, I didn't see a whole lot.
I think he had a couple of balls thrown his way. I think he had one reception,
Right.
I believe. I
C.J.
could be-
Wiley, like we don't really know what we think. Obviously, we're biased with a kid from Milton, but you know we think he's going to be good. I'm going to be extremely biased with the Danebridge kid. You know, I think he's going to be a. I liked him a lot. I thought he was one
Hard
of
to
the better.
tell. I don't, not to interrupt you, but it's hard to like we see freshmen pop, in these spring games, and then fall camp comes and season starts, and you don't hear from them again. So it's hard to tell. But that Dandridge kid's got a lot of balls thrown his way Saturday.
Yeah. So let's see. His name's that'll be easy to remember. It's Craig. That's easy to remember. Craig from Cambridge. Shout out Coach Bennett. Not really. Anyway, but so and that's really it on the wide receiver part that we saw. That you were like, okay, well we got these guys. We know Isaiah King and C.J. Wiley, Taylor. Like they're we know they're okay. It's a lot of potential with two of the three. We just don't know yet. And then the injuries, I think, played a big part because you didn't see Sokovy. You didn't see London Humphreys. There's another wide receiver out, and I can't think. And I'm looking at all the numbers and names right now, so it's kind of confusing. But anyway, point being is I thought the depth was going to be a lot worse, but then I started thinking about the injuries or guys that weren't going to play in the spring game. And we know what we're going to get out of Sokovy and London Humphreys. I think they're both pretty solid players. I don't know if they're Sunday guys. I think London Humphreys could be a Sunday
I
guy.
do too. I do too.
He could be a slot guy in the NFL. But you kind of know what you're going to get. So I think at wide receiver we're going to be okay. But this team, to me, my biggest takeaway is that it's looking like the teams that were built in the back-to-back years, where it was reliant on really good defense, defensive depth, tight end, and then running back, and having a stable of running backs, not just one or two running backs. I mean, and the thing about the upgrades that we're going to have coming in from last year to this year, and one specifically comes to mind, or two of them come to mind. Like, we know what we have in Nate Frazier. He's got to stay healthy. We know what we got out of Chauncey Bowens. I think he can be even better. That run that he had, you went to the bathroom whenever he had that run, but that was an excellent run, and that's why I like Chauncey a lot. But Dowdell and Dwight Phillips. Dwight Phillips is going to take that Cass Jones role, where they're going to throw it to him. They're going to run a lot of Texas duo routes with him. I think he can be a really special back. I know he's on the lighter side, but he's got home run potential. And then Dowdell is going to take over that McCray position, and I think it's going to add a whole new wrinkle to the offense. So I think the offense, maybe a lot of question marks at wide receiver, but should be better and upgraded in the areas that have been traditionally Kirby Smart team's strengths.
We're definitely loaded at tight end. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got we've got to find a way, or Bobo has got to find a way to get them involved as much as possible. And that's the other thing too is of course you expect it to be vanilla and right on G Day, but I'm hoping that there's going to be a little bit. We're going to be a run first team. I absolutely and play action pass with the tight ends being integral because that sideways pass that we ran to Zachariah Branch all last year. I just maybe Dwight Phillips can get in that role, but I didn't see anybody. Obviously, Zachariah Branch is one of one, but I didn't see anybody that right off the top unless it's
Prothrow, dude. I mean,
could be.
that's the thing. Like, think of Jaden Rydell, who barely got any playing time last year, ran a freaking sweep, a tight end sweep. He ran the Brock Bowers special. I mean, they're gonna have. We are 5 deep at tight end.
And tight end, and they are all different. Like we're talking about pro throw. Well, obviously, when you're standing next to a tight end that's 6'7" or 6'8", and you're going to look small, but they got all different types of body styles. But they are specimens to look at. Barber looked. I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, he did. And not a
Saturday.
lot of people are talking about him, but I thought he looked pretty good in the spring game.
Yeah, he looked really good to me. Um, the other guy that I know we have it, but to switch gears, talking about depth, Elijah Griffin is going to be a problem. If
Yeah,
and that's going to, I don't know, I don't know if we're going to have the Jalen Carter's and that type of defensive line, but that guy is going to be. I think by the time this season comes along, he's going to be special.
yeah, and that's another thing that I kind of took away from it: the defensive line depth, because I think that has been the biggest problem from 2023 to last year has been the depth at defensive line. And now you look at the defensive line, your third string guys are 5 stars. So they've done a really Kirby and the staff have done a really good job with building up the depth at the defensive line. They needed to because that has I think last year and all the past 3 seasons really the problem with the Georgia defense has not been linebackers or corners or anything. It's been the defensive line, and if the defensive line isn't dominant, isn't controlling the line of scrimmage in Kirby's defense, it's a lot easier to pick them apart and run and have play action and throw over the middle on them, and that has been the problem the past couple of years and why Georgia's defense. I mean, they've taken a step back. And I know it's kind of crazy whenever you think about 21 to 22, how good those defenses were. But, they have taken a step back. So I think the defensive line has greatly improved. And whenever you start looking through the names of guys, especially on the defensive line, you start to realize that Georgia's going to be okay at that position.
I think that's going to have to be. I mean, that's how Kirby wants to play. The strength of the team is going to be the defense, specifically defensive line and linebackers, right? Probably, and then we're going to have to be a run first, and play action pass. That's just based on what I saw on Saturday.
Yeah, and look, if we can get the Gunnar Stockton that played Texas and played Ole Miss and the first time,
Yeah.
even the second time.
It wasn't his problem the second time.
No, the guy in the SEC championship, that Gunnar Stockton not only can win the Heisman, but that Gunnar Stockton can lead Georgia to a national championship. But if we get the version like the Tech game, there's going to be problems. So I would say that Gunner's probably going to be more of the guy that we saw in that stretch there in the middle of the season, and then obviously the end of the season outside of that Tech game, which is an anomaly to me still. I think Georgia offensively is going to be okay. It's just, we're going to go backwards in the Kirby Smart era, where we're going to run the ball, pound you, and play clock management.
Yeah, I would agree that based on what I saw on Saturday, that would be my guess. The not to change, but the pivot. I know there's been because this the quarterback. There's been a lot of talk. We didn't see a lot of Gunner. I know he was had a. I think he had a knee or something. Didn't need to see him, but I think a lot of people were saying we're going to be in trouble if Gunner goes down. Well, that's all. I mean, I would say that's always the case if your starting quarterback goes down. It's not great, but I'm not as concerned about it. And I think people were a little disappointed or underwhelmed maybe by Puglisi. They were saying that Hezekiah is back up
Malinder.
now. Yeah. And then Ryan Montgomery, three, and Puglisi four string. I don't know. First of all, these spring games are they're going to put more pressure on a quarterback because they're going to throw it more. You're going to have more 2 minute because they're structuring it that way, and we're not going to pound the rock like we would in a regular game. But I have confidence. Maybe it's unfounded, but I have confidence in Puglisi. If something were to happen, he's been there for 3 years. I would assume he's a relatively sharp kid, and Monken believed in him. So I'm not gonna extrapolate too much out of spring and start making predictions on quarterbacks
Well,
coming out of spring.
I always find it odd to base your whole knowledge around a person in a spring game when you haven't seen all of spring practice. Also, the other thing is, like, the defense, they kind of know
Sure,
the
they
test
do.
answers, so they're not surprised by anything. They're not guessing. Oh, is this going to be a run? Is this going to be a pass? What formation? Where's the tight end? Where's this guy on this side of the field? They're not thinking about any of that because they're familiar with this offense that they're playing. They see it every single week, and then they saw it all throughout the season last year. So I don't I don't really put a whole lot of stock in quarterback play in a spring game. It's more about do you look competent? Getting the ball out, knowing where to go, putting the ball in play, and I think all of them. I think Puglisi's going to be fine. Uh, I I didn't see anything that I thought was like great from that Montgomery kid.
I didn't see anything that was great about any of the quarterback play, to be honest. But I'm
Well,
not.
see, maybe I have sold myself on Hezekiah Malinder since I heard about him and I saw him play at Athens Clark and I saw him play in high school. Um, he he is extremely raw, but that guy not only can he run and has pretty good can run at a pretty good clip, but he's got a rocket arm. Not a lot of touch. So I saw him and I go, okay, like there's something there. I see why Kirby and Bobo took a chance on this kid from Athens because he's got a little something to him.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I didn't watch his high school career. Don't know that much about him. I would raw would be the word that I would use.
Yeah,
I think we had right before wasn't it right before half we had
the 2 minute.
yeah 2 minute and I think we had four possessions.
Yeah,
So if that tells you going back to it being sloppy, I think there was two turnovers there. I can't remember exactly, but I know
there was a
both
three
teams
and
had two
out.
cracks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And he
and it
ran the
wasn't. Oh, go ahead.
offense, and he seemed like he had more urgency behind him than the other quarterbacks that ran the 2 minute. But what can you take away from that? I'm not a quarterback whisperer. I don't know, but I
Yeah,
would say it's Gunnar Stockton, and then somebody's going to have to beat Puglisi out to be. And I don't think it's going to happen in spring. So everybody can just hold on and making predictions about that stuff and. To me, I don't know what you can take out of spring when it comes to quarterbacks.
I don't either. All right, there are two guys that I wanted to talk about. One being Chase Linton. That dude, he's an outside linebacker. The way he looks like a defensive end. That's probably if when he goes on Sundays, he will be defensive end. That dude was not only he maybe I don't know what his stats were in the game. I don't know exactly what the final stats were, but he was in on every single play whenever he was in. He was doing something. He's got a motor. I was very impressed with him. A lot of people were talking about him, impressing during spring practice. I get it. He's going to add something to this defense. He, Isaiah Gibson, Gabe Harris, they're going to get a lot of playing time. They're going to be the dudes for Georgia. But I think that Linton kid, he's going to be really good, and I think he's a guy that you should keep your eye on throughout the season. He might not start out playing that much, but he's going to end up being one of those guys that get a ton of snaps toward the end of the year.
What one thing I would say? What's his height and weight? Since you've got the roster,
He's 6'4", 230.
To me, I mean, you're right. High motor guy, a ton of activity, plays hard. To me, if there's some way he could put on 10 pounds between now and middle part of the regular season, that would be fantastic. Because he looks a little light to be playing defensive end in the SEC. With that said, I agree with you. He flashed for sure about how hard he played and how the motor he had on him.
Yeah, I was very impressed. And then the next guy, another freshman, Zyke Helton, he's going to start.
Which number is he?
55.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just going to start. That kid, Georgia found them one on the offensive line. He's good. I don't know. Probably Andrew Thomas was probably the last guy where I saw him at a spring game and I went, "Oh yeah, he's gonna start. He's gonna be okay." This guy, I watched him. I watched him in person, and I went back and I watched it in the spring game. I mean, he handled Elijah Griffin, and he's 18.
Maybe I'll go back and watch just for that.
He's 18 years old, and he's handling one of the best defensive linemen in the country. I don't even know what else to say. I think he's just really good, and he's listed. By the way, they have him listed as a center here. And he's a guard. He's going to play guard. He's good.
Well, it's good to know that he can play center eventually, but the freshman's not. I'd be shocked. Bobo's got the center job, but I remember him being in there. I just didn't watch him as closely as it sounds like you did.
Yeah, I came away extremely impressed. I don't know if he's going to play left or right guard, but he's going to play somewhere because that dude he's a ball player. So the offensive line is going to be Ernest Green, Helton, obviously, Bobo, Glover, and then Juan Gaston. And I'll tell you, I think I said it in the last podcast that we did. I was like, don't listen to the hype around Jaw Jackson because, we don't really know what people are talking about. And they just see a big 6'10" kid that can move, and people are going to be impressed. I can see why people are really impressed with him. I thought he played okay. Guy can move.
He's got good feet for somebody who's 6'10".
Yeah, and he might not be a starter this year, but next year for sure. I think he's going to be the sixth guy in the rotation, and you're going to see a lot of him coming in playing a tackle spot. So I think, and then also Juan Gaston. The great thing about Gaston is
play guard and tackle, right?
He can play guard and tackle. So
played a lot of tackle.
Did that a couple of times where they put him at guard, took Glover, moved him over to left guard, and then put Juan Gaston as right guard. So I think offensive line wise, there's going to be a lot of people that are, questioning the offensive line. I think Georgia's offensive line is going to be perfectly fine. I think it's going to be one of the strengths.
I do too, actually, and I don't know anything about really the Rauscher guy that they got. Although his demeanor on the sidelines, if somebody needs to have their butt lit up and coached hard, I saw him on Saturday during they called a timeout, and I don't know who he was jumping on, but he got in somebody's face. So I do think that I think I don't know where the tackle spot is going to shake out for sure. But I do think the offensive line is going to be one of the strengths. The run game of this team's going to have to be.
Yeah, I agree. And then punter, talk about Drew Miller. I thought he did okay.
Yeah, I thought he did really well.
So by the way, there's a Brody Talbert on Georgia's team.
I did not.
He's from Athens. He's not one of our.
No, he's not. He's
No.
if he's fast enough to be on the Georgia team, he's definitely not one of ours.
Well, not only is he fast enough, but he's also a wide receiver.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, he is not. He's not one of ours at all. Sorry, that was just very random. I was looking at the thing. Anything else takeaway wise about the spring game?
No, not really that we haven't talked about. So yeah, enjoyable event.
Yeah, I would say fine. Not there was 93K day, and then 2017, 2018, there were a lot of people. Obviously, COVID kind of killed the momentum of big attendances at G Day. They could do a little bit of a better job, A, advertising it, B, the pre-production of the game is something I am more into. I think they could do a better job at that. If they want to hire me, they can.
Nothing to do with that, but I would tell you, unless they get 316 and 85 corrected or fixed or whatever they're going to do, it is getting to the Georgia games this fall and getting out of there is going to be unbelievable. The amount of traffic, it took us from Athens to Milton, if people listening know where that is, usually an hour and 40 minutes. Went up 85 to get there and then came down 316 to get home. And both ways had construction where it was just stopped. So just letting everybody know, if you haven't made that drive in a while, it has not improved. I will tell you that for 20,000,
I would
35.
plan, and if you don't have your parking pre-planned about where you're parking and have a parking pass, I would go ahead and plan for 4 to 5 hours ahead of kickoff.
I would say that's accurate. To get there, get settled, enjoy yourself before the game, before you have to walk in the stadium, because it is a literal bear from Atlanta metro area to get to Athens, and that shouldn't be the case, but it is.
Yeah, such is life. All right, before we go, let's talk about the Zachariah Branch thing. I know a lot of people don't even know. People that don't understand what was going on go, well, why would a guy that's up for the draft this week be out at past midnight? I don't even think the guy was drinking. It was twilight in Athens. So if you don't, do you know what twilight is? It's a newer thing. So around spring, they usually sometimes it coordinates with G Day, sometimes it doesn't. But it's a cool thing to go see. They have all of downtown blocked off, and they have like a big bike race at night. And they have barriers with drink rails, and you can drink and watch people ride their bicycles really fast. And I gotta tell you, it's a lot of fun. So, I've done it a few times, on accident every time, because I had totally forgot that it was even twilight this year. So that's what was going on, and if you go see any of the pictures, the sidewalk is blocked. There's thousands of people in downtown Athens watching this bike race at night. It's a family-friendly event. It's not like a rough and rowdy what you think of a downtown Athens Saturday night. It's a friendly. There's kids. There's face painting things. There's jumpies. The blow up jump houses.
Houses, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a clean, godly event with a little bit of booze. It's not like a terrible place. That cop that arrested Zachariah Branch on a $39 bail, by the way, he should be fired. He's just a dick with a badge. He's just an asshole.
It
You
was
know
a
why?
obstruction of justice. I just saw the charges. I don't know any of the
Well, he
details.
just said clear the sidewalk, and evidently Zachariah Branch smiled, and this pissed off Marshall Dillon, and he booked him and shook him. I couldn't like when I read the police report. It's really crazy. He wrote down he smirked at me. When was smirking a fucking
Well,
crime?
that's also subjective. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Somebody's interpretation of a smirk might be somebody else's attempt at a smile, a genuine smile. So who are
yeah,
you to be a judge of facial expressions? I
yeah.
don't know.
And it's not a crime to fucking smirk, Barney Fife. So, by the way, if you just want to talk about the craziness of the media and the bias, and for 2 years, Ruben Bain, who is going to be a first round pick, no one talked about how he was in a driving incident that literally put a person in a coma. And I don't even know if the person's alive or dead yet, but I know the person was in a coma, and he was found guilty on negligent driving that caused this person to be in a terrible car accident. Clearly, no one talks about it. It was a thing, and then now it's gone. Because Miami, I know they played in the national championship, and I don't know if there is a Miami fan that will be watching this, but they're irrelevant. They have been forever. But because of Georgia, and then the notoriety, and then obviously the accident that took a player's life, and the subsequent arrests that have happened, this is now a huge story where the Athens PD is clearly out of line and way overboard with who they arrest and what they don't arrest. So, I know we talk about this every time. The Athens PD, we have got to have some internal investigation on the Athens PD. They're out of control.
Here's what's going to happen. If I'm a University of Georgia football player and I sign with an agent, and I'm going to tell my my client, if I'm the lawyer, the agent, I'm going to say, do not go to the city of Athens. Stay out of the city of Athens until after you're drafted and go to camp, because there's something going on there where the likelihood of you. So in other words, you're going to have people who would, I mean, like he wanted to come back and hang out with the guys, and I think that's good for a program that guys who have already got finished want to come out and hang out and be in Athens and be around the program. I mean, this kid transferred, and he's not in that Southern California. He's in Athens, but it's got such a derogatory. I don't know if it's heavy-handed police department. I don't know what it is, but I would tell my clients, unless you want to cost yourself millions and me millions, don't go to Athens. Stay out of that. Go to East Bumblefuck, Arizona, and go to a training camp and get yourself in shape and be in bed every night at 9 o'clock. Because Athens, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they have it out for them, but if that's really what it was because of the smirk, because he didn't clear the sidewalk fast enough, yeah, I say it's heavy-handed. But it's unfortunate because the city of Athens and the University of Georgia program don't go there, or don't go back there. Don't go around the program, and that's
Yeah, and that's a bad thing. And I don't know if the university is going to be afraid to do anything. And I understand from Kirby's perspective, you don't want to have a war with the Athens PD, but something's got to be done. I mean, this
I
is
think it's
ridiculous.
the athletic department and the city officials and the police chief or whoever runs the police have to have a sit down meeting. And that's not to say that we're giving these kids a carte blanche and they shouldn't be held accountable. But at the same time, $39 bail, what are we doing?
Yeah, that
Kobe
would never
White.
happen anywhere. I honestly, that would never happen anywhere else.
And by the way, I know we talked about it when it happened, but Sokovie White getting lumped in with the driving and the reckless driving.
For
If you've
going
ever
the
been to
wrong way.
Athens and you've never driven there, it's very easy to get confused on one-way roads. So some of these are so insignificant, but to your point, they make headlines and they help cast aspersions on the program.
Yeah. So, And by the way, I'm really surprised out of all the things. Aaron Murray was in the bike race, and I'm surprised that Athens PD did not arrest him for speeding and going down the wrong way on the road. So that, I mean, I guess you have that going. I guess Aaron Murray did enough. He has enough cachet where the Athens PD won't book him for that one. Thank God. 'Cause, you know, where does the line get drawn? I don't know. All right. Well, we'll be back probably sometime or next week. We'll do another video. We got a long way till August, so we'll come up with some ideas to talk about things, and then also, if you have ideas or you want to hear something, or hell, if you watch this and you want to be on here and be a trio and you want to talk about something that's you want to get off your chest, comment. We'll see. Why not? We'll have a third chair. I don't care. Well, let's get weird with it.
We'll
If you
also
want to
probably
do
come back after the draft and give a breakdown on the Georgia players and where they went, right?
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about the draft. Yeah, so that'll probably we'll do like some small topic, non-football related or football related, and then we'll talk about the draft. So we'll do those two videos. We'll break them up. Good call. Way to go, producer. All right. Anything else before we head out?
Not for me.
All right. Remember to like and subscribe. Comment if you want to comment and be on the show. We're holding out tryouts. Anyone can come as a low barometer. So
Yeah.
comment away. We're two assholes with a mic, and look at us. And then follow us on social media at Terminus Sports _ATL. That's Terminus Sports _ATL. We're on X, Instagram, and TikTok. So give us a follow there. We went after top tier on Twitter the other day, and that got some buzz on the socials on the Georgia Twitter or X, whatever. So give us a follow there, and we'll see you on the other side.
See ya.